Hey, I'm your host, Mari Wagner, and you're listening to the Ever Be podcast, where faith meets lifestyle. I'm so excited you're here. Whether you're a new listener or a longtime follower, I know there's something here for you. Pull up a chair and listen in for insightful, real-life conversations and actionable steps on how to claim the full life God created you for. If you're a woman desiring to live a Christ-centered life in today's modern world, then this is for you. Welcome to Ever Be.
Alrighty, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Today we have two of my dear girlfriends, Cece and Megan. And right before we started recording this, we were just laughing because we've chatted several times on their podcast, but now it's kind of a fun little full circle moment that I get to interview them on my podcast now. So welcome, ladies.
So fun. Thanks for having us. I'm like, yay, I don't have to do any of the work of the editing or anything. Like, just sit back and hang out.
Like, this is what Meg gets every week. What the heck? Yeah, you just get to be your funny little selves, and I'll do all the heavy lifting. So have fun. So, ladies, give us a brief introduction. I'm sure a ton of my listeners know who you are. I know that a ton of my listeners found out about my podcast because of What in the Dang Heck, your podcast.
Ooh.
So there may not be a lot of people who don't know you, but just in case, why don't you give us a quick little synopsis of who the heck you are?
Cece, go for it. All right. Welcome. I'm Cecelia Brennan. Feels so weird to say Brennan.
I know, it still feels weird for you. TBH, I'm always like Cecelia Pappas in my head.
Me too, because I haven't legally changed it yet. So,
and she just never sees her husband anyway. So it's like, Cece, same. I've been married for 3.5 years, and I still haven't legally changed my name.
I will say though, I probably have more of an excuse than you, Mari, because I have a visa to Japan that like I need to keep my last name for.
Yeah, I have zero excuse. So I travel outside the country quite often, and that's been my excuse. But I do hear that like you can still travel with your maiden name passport. So I really just need to get my ish together. That's just the bottom line.
If there was someone to like hire to do all of those things that need to be done when it comes to changing the name, I think I would seriously consider investing in it. Like I would forego getting like a cavity filled or something in order to like have that done.
Intro. Yeah. Anyways, we're intro.
Yeah. Okay. So hello. Catholic wife and now mother of a 3-month-old baby girl. Military wife, husband's in the Navy. I spend half my time in Japan, the other half middle of nowhere, Kentucky. And I've been, podcast host for 4 years with Meg over here. And then, do the whole social media thing. And then I own I'm co-founder of a coaching and consulting firm where we teach leadership skills in corporate settings. So, that's me, Meg.
She's a boss babe, in other words. Yeah, we all know that. I think it's so funny, too, that we're on this podcast together because it's just like the package deal every time.
Yeah.
Just the what in the dang heck, crosses over. My name is Megan Wells. My name has been changed since I got married. I am a mother, a mother to 3. That was backwards.
Wife
and
to 1.
I know, wife for 1, mother to 3. I almost said wife to 3. Oh, God. Where is she going with this?
She lives in Alabama, everyone. So, context.
Yeah. What else do I do? I do the social media stuff as well as Cece and Mari. That's honestly how we all met. I do photography. I do podcasting with Cece. Home birth. That feels like something that people know me for now. So I feel like that's also what I do every 18 months. I don't know.
Throw it on the resume.
Home birth every 18 months. About time. So yeah, that's me. A military wife too, but hopefully not forever. So not because I'm divorcing my husband, but because we're divorced in the military. Yeah. Right. Oh my gosh. Well, this is going to be great. I wanted to bring you guys on to chat about really just like girl talk, like just fun girl chats, because I feel like that's a lot of what your podcast is like and what a lot of people love about your podcast. It's they just kind of get to be that kind of fly on the wall, but also just kind of feels like you're actually chatting with you guys and not just eavesdropping on like your best friend conversation. And I love that you guys do this because Catholic women need to hear from other Catholic women and Christian women need to hear from other Christian women. And just like, what are the kind of topics they talk about? Like, what are their hearts like? What is their perspective like on friendships, dating, marriage, world, career, like dreams and aspirations, like just kind of to hear your unique perspective as a wonderful Catholic woman, I feel like is going to be so just fruitful for me and for other listeners to hear about too. So we're going to get into some really fun girly girl topics. And we really wanted to record this in person at a slumber party, but that's just not feasible because we all live in 3 different states.
And Mari was like, can we do it like later and like have cocktails? I'm like, I'm not available later, but I will have a cocktail at 2:00 if you want.
And I'm like, we're going to chat about like boys and first kisses, and it's 1 p.m. over here, but all good. And then I'm just going to go back to work after this.
Right.
Okay, but I do want to start off with girl groups and like girl friendships, friendships with other women and friend groups in general, because I feel like that's an experience all women have. And I think, I don't want to generalize, but I would venture to say at one point or another, we've all struggled with friendships with other women, whether that be with a best friend, losing a friend, maybe like having a friend group or feeling like you don't have a friend group. And I think that growing up, at least the way I saw things in the media we consumed when we were like, growing up was mostly like Disney Channel. We didn't really
I'm like the minute media we consume.
but like in Disney Channel, like the girls, like they have their girl gang, like they have their crew. And that might be true for you. That might also not be true for you. And I think there's actually more women that I've talked to more and more lately that like didn't grow up with that experience of like really close girlfriends, even though it's something we all desire. So I kind of just want to hear your personal experience on that, on like, what have girl friendships been like for you over the years? Let's just start there.
I don't know. Well, I was going to say mine's really unique because I moved every 2 years my entire life, and I still do. And so the girl friendships were almost always teammates because I was homeschooled too. And so it was like, all right, you got your siblings and you got your soccer teammates every time you move somewhere, which I think made it hard for me when I got older, especially when I was in college. I noticed the difference between me and some of my roommates and teammates still in college. They were able to open up and be vulnerable on a level I never had with friends, almost because they were used to that like dependency or like that long-term relationship that I had never experienced. And mine was always a bit superficial as far as like, okay, you have a teammate for 2 years, then you move to another place, have a teammate for 2, and so the team was great because it was my immediate friend group that I had stuff in common with, but I didn't learn how to have an emotional, vulnerable, intimate relationship with someone through that, especially with women. Because I feel like if you don't learn that, then you run on the line of like being judgmental or like, I don't know, just really shallow, quick to judge. You don't have an outlet to express these things freely and easily if you don't practice them. I know Cece, you can go ahead. I'm immediately thinking of someone that you're close friends with to this day that you went through school with. I don't know the depth of y'all's friendship, but
Yeah. So, okay, I would say I'm more like a Hannah Montana who like had, Emily and Oliver as her friends, it wasn't like a massive group, but it was like my good friends. And I mean, in high school, I did have I was in cheerleader, you just have different group, but I always had different groups of friends. I had my student council group of friends, my like cheerleader group of friends, and then my more so like friends that went to different schools. So I always like to have friends in different pockets, and I'm still the same way. Most of my friends are long distance, and that's okay because I move a lot because, the military. And I love that. Like, I hate that they're long distance, but it's worth it. And so I hate to use the word collect, but like really keep those friendships close because I'm choosing it. It's not a friendship out of convenience. It's a friendship out of like deep love for them. One of my best friends, Jordan, we actually went to high school together and we did not like each other in high school. Like the first 2-3 years of high school, we were just like low key kind of mortal enemies because we always dated the same guys. And I was like, oh, like he's so
it's coming
annoying.
back.
Well, that'll do it when you're 16.
Yeah, and then her parents like moved over the border to like a different district and she switched schools and then we became best friends once we were at different schools.
One for different distance. Yeah.
I know, distance makes the heart grow fonder. And then she ended up being, the matron of honor in my wedding. So I'm really good at long distance friendships. But as far as like I would love to get better at in-person friendships.
Part of me is like, oh my gosh, we've always talked about how sick it would be if we had like connecting backyards. And now I'm hearing this and I'm like, maybe not.
Maybe not.
Good for us. So, yeah, I don't know. What about you, Mari? Were you more of like girl gang, still hang out with those girls from high school or more seasonal?
I am similar to UCC where I had a lot of friends in a lot of different pockets. I've always been kind of like your social butterfly. I love people. Like I've always kind of had like the more the merrier kind of mindset.
Yeah.
And so I think like deep inside, and this is why I started this conversation this way, is because I feel like growing up, like I always wanted that like core group of girls. Like I wanted those like girls that are like with me through everything and you grow up together and do everything and all this stuff. And I remember hearing my parents tell me like growing up, like they're just kind of realists sometimes. They're just like, you're not going to have these friends forever. Like these friends aren't going to be here with you forever. Like you're the only people that are with you forever is your family.
Yeah.
And like as a fourth grader, that sucks to hear, you're like, no, my best friend is my best friend for life. What are you talking about? And then even as a senior in high school with my new best friends, I was like, you're crazy. Like we're going to have Thanksgiving with our kids together one day. Yeah. And then like, I don't talk to those people anymore. And then there's even some people in college that I was super close with that aren't around. And so I think that my perspective has shifted. Like while my heart is always kind of like in this mindset of like, I love deep friendships. I love deeply as a person. And so like, I love connecting deeply with different women and like having women in your corner. I think I've sort of shifted to knowing that like, for me, depth is ultimately more important than quantity now. Whereas growing up, I felt like I was really focused on quantity of like, I want the big friend group. And I did have friends in a lot of different pockets. And I felt like that was really fun during the school year because you have a lot of friends and a lot of classes and a lot of extracurriculars. And then summer kind of hit and I'm like, why don't I have a lot of people to hang out with? Because, like, people have their crews. And I would say like my like solid people were my dance team because like you were saying, Meg, like you just spend so much time with your team, you train with them. And that's probably like the people that you're spending more in-depth time with than your just like class friends, But after I graduated high school, like I'm not on the dance team anymore. And so we kind of stopped keeping up, as close of a relationship. So I think I've just kind of seen waves and seasons of friends come in and out. And so I think that my heart posture towards like friendships has evolved over the years. And still I'm like, I'm willing to give it my all. I'm willing to invest like in another friend, that I see that like there's a lot of alignment and like we really like hit it off and everything and like our morals, our values, our goals. Like I'm gonna go all in, but I've kind of understood like it's not always going to be reciprocated or it's not always going to make sense for like a lifelong friend, and that's okay. It's okay to kind of have those seasonal friendships. I think, it's kind of
one of the things that you said too was the alignment, and I think that's been the biggest one for me to realize going through high school and college, and now like the quantity or quality over quantity, and then the alignment thing. If we're like the closest friends that I have are all Catholic, shocker, we're all long distance. And I don't think like growing up, I was just kind of like, I'm Catholic, but like that doesn't really play a role. And it's like, no, as I've gotten older and I've, actually committed more to my faith and had taken ownership over it, I've realized, no, the closest relationships are those that want more for me than just here on earth. And it's like, that's worth the distance Cece's talking about. That's worth, the phone calls or the different time zones or the less quantity, like having less of them, and just accepting that those friends that you thought you were going to have Thanksgiving with and Christmas with and, have your kids be best friends and whatnot are going to go and they're going to leave. And that's, you have to accept that. But it is nice knowing how deep the faith can go. And even Avery, my husband who converted, he's like, there's this level that you can't go past unless they also share in the faith.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, when you find that in women, it's powerful. It is. And it moves mountains. It changes your life. And so
Yeah.
I don't say that lightly. I don't like changes your life. That sounds so cheesy, but it changes your life.
It does blow. I think it does, especially for women like us who like the faith is the central part of our life. So there's a lot that's going to be missing in the conversation and in the things you talk about and the things you do in your lifestyle and all these things if that part isn't shared. So I feel like that kind of leads into like, what qualities do you feel like you look for most in a friend? Obviously, I feel like we've established like a strong faith, at least for me. I feel like it's something that I feel like has been a common denominator in all my closest friendships. Like even people that I have been close with for a long time, like the level of intimacy in the relationship and depth and trust and vulnerability, like isn't there, even if we've been friends longer than someone that I just met that does share that like faith component. So besides faith, what other values do you feel like you're looking for in a friend?
Yeah, faith, absolutely a given. I mean, humor is like really big for me. Just being able to like be normal, like sit back. I mean, I really, when I think about like a good friend, I'm like, do I have to look like a decent human to get to FaceTime them? Like, no. Therefore, they are a really great friend. Like, I don't know. I feel like I have these criteria, right? And even like when I think about a fun activity, like, could I have a fun time like going antiquing with my good friend? Yes. Every single one of my good friends, yes. So, and I know there's going to be different friends that you do different things with, right? Not every friend has to fill every single pocket. And like, you can't expect a friend to fill every single activity. It's like your husband, right? He's not going to like fulfill all the hobbies that you like and everything you need, right? That's why you have friends. So I kind of look at it like that. Like one friend isn't going to do everything I need. Like there's some friends I go to for advice on certain things and other friends I go to when I'm like, I have this really funny video I need to show you. Or I'm like, okay, this weird thing's happening to my skin. Like, what do you do? And everyone has those different friends for everything. So I know I'm not fully answering your question as far as qualities, but keeping in mind that not every friend needs to, do everything for you because that's why you have, a handful. But yeah, as far as qualities, I'm like loyalty, really, really big. Being there when I need them. And I know I'm not there. Like, I don't expect to be my friend's priority, but there are certain times where I'm like, are you going to pick up my phone call when I need you? And it's like when you,
And it's like Megan's not. So
no.
There's literally a time. I think it was when you found out you were pregnant with Stassi.
Yeah.
You literally called me and I didn't answer.
I was like,
found out like third on your list because I didn't answer the phone call. I was like,
on to the next.
What? He's not going to be there for me.
Actually, all my friends found out before my husband because he was deployed. So, but yeah. So I think keeping that in mind has been really helpful because some people might be like, well, I don't really have that best friend. It's like, it's okay not to have that one singular best friend. I love sharing my life with a handful of ladies.
Yeah. I think to echo what you said, people that are willing and able to inconvenience themselves for you.
Yeah.
Is like a telltale sign. And then the other one is what do they we've talked about this on our podcast actually. What do they talk about? And how do they talk about things in their life? Like positivity wise. Like if they are constantly complaining about things, if they are, they nag their husband all the time in front of me, if they, whatever, I'm like, nope, this is not going to be good for me to be around. Even if I have all the self-control in the world and I want to positively influence them, that's a risk. And then you're risking your full cup essentially to pour out into someone who may not be willing to accept it. And then you're empty, and then you turn around and go home and start mimicking what you've been around. So
True.
that's a big one for me.
Yeah, I think I love that you brought that up, Meg, because I think that especially as we get older, like our circles, I feel like get smaller, even though we might meet a lot of people like at work or mom's group or parish, like your true circle of friends, honestly, is smaller than it used to be. And so it's that much more important to really see like who are the people that I'm surrounding myself with. And if you think that those kind of people aren't affecting your life and how you act, like you're wrong, because it does. Like the saying is so true that you become the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so I love that you brought that up, because in the end, I mean, I believe this very strongly about your spouse. Like he should build you up and help you be a better version of yourself, or at least like bring that desire out of you to want to be like a saint and want to be holier and good for your spouse. Like I think it's similar with friends, like maybe not to the same extent of like, as your husband, but at the same time, like, do the people around you like inspire you to be a better version of yourself? Or are you constantly kind of like looking at the way they're living and rethinking how, you're doing things, or kind of like, I don't know, bringing you down in a sense. So I love that you touched on that. And then Cece, I so relate to what you're saying about like, I didn't necessarily connect it to like the word humor, but just like the ability just to like have a normal time with a friend and like not have this pressure of like getting dressed up or doing something specific. I think that as you get older as well, like adult friendships are so much different than friendships growing up, because it's almost more formal. Like it's almost more like a date. Like when you're growing up, you just come over to your friend's house and you like sit on the couch and like laugh at stupid things that you're doing all the time. And then like as adults, you're like, would you like to come over for coffee? Or like, would you like to have a dinner on my patio? And it's just like different experiences that you have with friends. And I feel like it takes so much longer in an adult friendship to get to the point where you're like, do you want to just come over and watch a show? And to like sit on my couch in your t-shirt. Like, why is that so much more vulnerable now than it used to be?
So true. You know what's interesting too? I found that my girlfriend and I here who's in the neighborhood, she'll just walk over and we'll try to do like one girls night out or girls night in a month. And lately we've been doing like a craft at home that's like seasonal. And I've noticed it's kind of like if you guys ever played Legos or Playmobil or Polly Pockets or something growing up, where you're kind of like just talking to each other and you don't really focus on what you're talking about because you're playing together, but you're just talking and you're not thinking twice about it. That's what happens when you start doing a craft with a girlfriend. You just like naturally just start blah, 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 and you're not like thinking about it. It's not formal. It's not pressured. Like if you were a fly on the wall, you might even critique some of the things you were saying, like because you're just like crafting together. Like, wait, this is how we used to hang out with friends all the time.
Yeah.
Bring this back.
So I was sharing with Megan, I'm having like a flower arrangement morning with like a handful of girlfriends in a few weeks. And that was something that I had made a wreath with a friend last year, and she had like picked a bunch of magnolia leaves from her backyard, and we made wreaths together. And I enjoyed that so much. And I was like, there is, like you were saying, there's a magic that happens when you're doing something with your hands and you're being creative, but also like you're just chit-chatting. Like there is some beauty to chit-chat, It's like nothing too deep. It's just like I kind of need a break. And so anyways, that was my kind of idea around this like little get together that I'm having. But even this is like, I sent out a cute invitation. Like it did not need to be like this. It could have been like, come over and hang out. But of course, as we know how I am, I had to
Aesthetics.
I was going to say, we're all
one other thing too that.
Oh, sorry. I think we're lagged. So sorry if I'm talking over you guys, by the way.
No, you're fine. Was I talking over someone?
You're fine on my end.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna say the only other thing I would add, and I think Cece mentioned it right before we talked about chit-chatting and crafts, was, or maybe Mari, one of you guys mentioned the importance of having people that want to push you, like make you better. About Mari, you were talking about your spouse and how they should want to make you better. And I think that that's a telltale sign of like a good friend when like Cece can call me out on my crap and I can accept it and just say, yep, okay, you're right. And it's not like she's better than or she's higher than. It's like, no, she knows me well. I respect where she's coming from. She respects me and she's calling me out on something so that I can be better for it. And I think that's like when you find that in a friend, you're like, all right, you're never going anywhere.
Yeah, they
100%.
can question. They can
Right.
question you and question what you did and be like, "What about this?" Or "What do you like? Why did you do that?"
Why? Yeah, absolutely. And I just, honesty, I feel like is what it comes down to. Like so many people, I feel like in today's world, we're just like weak, it's like we can't handle the truth. We can't handle like difficult conversations or criticism. And it's honestly just so hurtful to ourselves and other people that we love if we're not like lovingly holding each other to higher standards. And I value that so much in a friend. And maybe that's just because how I am as well. And that might scare people. But like I appreciate that so much when a friend is like, hey, like I know you and like this isn't who you are. Like, are you okay? What's going on? Do you want to chat about something? Like, how can I help you? And that's another thing my parents would say, like, your friends aren't going to be the ones to give you those hard-hitting truths. Only your family is. And I feel like there's been few people in my life besides my family that I feel like have actually gotten to that point in friendship where they're like, I love you enough to like have this awkward conversation where like I'm kind of going to call you out and it makes a difference.
Well, and even when, like, if I were to say, like, "Oh, this happened with my kids today, or this happened with my husband, and like Cece would be like, okay, but you did XYZ. So, like, what, you know what I mean? Like, if she can hold both sides, like, she loves me enough that she loves my family as well, and is not just going to sit here and go, oh, yeah, how dare they, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
And that's a gift. I feel like, especially in women friendships, because it's so easy to do what's easy and what's natural, or for out of fear of being like, I don't know, blown off, or like, I don't know.
But it's a gift to me too. Like you coming to me, Megan, and being able to say those things is a gift to me because I learn from it. And it's the same thing. Like I feel like maybe a few weeks ago, Megan, we were texting and I was like, yeah, I like said this thing to Patrick. It was like not my best moment. Like, and it was like we learn from the crap that we do. We learn from our worst moments. But to be able to share your worst moment and be like,
True.
yeah, I should have done this instead. It's not like, because I've been in those friendships where it is like, my husband did this, da, 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 da. But when it switches to like, I did this to my husband and it was really crappy.
Yeah.
It's like, wow,
That's true.
this is helpful. Like, this is such a mutually beneficial relationship.
Really.
Absolutely. Okay. On the same vein, but slightly different topic, comparison and confidence. I want to touch on this because these are such common, I feel like, struggles that as women we have, either that stem from difficult friendships we're having, or just because like as women, like we want to be beautiful. We want to like reach that full potential like that the Lord has placed on our hearts. And sometimes comparing ourselves to other women can damage. I almost said harm and damage in the same word, and I said harmage, but
Love it.
damage our self-confidence, and we fall into comparison. What has been your experience with these two feelings?
Cece, you have a whole course. You should take it away.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing that comes to mind is recent. With the 3-month-old baby, my husband's deployed, so I've been, doing this whole thing by myself, and not to invalidate all the people that have came and helped me and let me survive, but so something that I didn't have confidence in was like doing things in public with the baby, like going grocery shopping, going to the store to try on, jeans that fit. going, just like taking myself out for coffee, like these things that would have been part of my normal day, I didn't have confidence in doing. And it's easy to compare yourself to every other mother you see doing them, right? So the way that I had to build my confidence in doing that is simply by just doing it. Because the only thing that I truly, truly believes time and time again that builds confidence is competence in what you're doing. And you have to have repetition to build competence in the action to then be confident in doing it. And so now, going out in public every single day, I get my butt out and go out of the house every single day with a baby because I knew that I cannot function in society if I'm nervous about being in public. And so I forced myself to go out and be competent in how to do all these things. How do I change my baby's diaper on the go? What do I do if she does this? Like all these little things to then build my confidence. And now last week, I drove an hour, we went shopping, and then I went to a Mediterranean deli and sat outside and had myself a drink and a salad with a baby. And like, I would have never done that a month and a half ago, but on purpose, I knew I needed to be competent in what to do and how to do it. And so I hope that it's not in terms of like friendship, it's a little different. It's more of an internal thing, but it is a process to build that.
I was going to say, it kind of piggybacks what I was going to say and what I did in high school. Because I remember seeing girls that just were so themselves, like they did not care. And I was like drawn to that because it's attractive. And you're like, that's so cool. How did you get there? And I remember thinking like, what if I just fake it till I make it? Like, what if I just fake that I'm confident about who I am and I just own who I am until like I actually am. And I think it's very much the same thing. You walk into a room with your head held high, even if you're like, I don't feel like my head should be held high. Like, this is very uncomfortable for me. What are they thinking? You still do it anyways. And you do it over and over and over again, that it becomes just like second nature almost. As far as like girlfriends though, in comparison, like that's kind of, for me, that goes back to the positive and like negative. Like, how do they talk? What do they talk about? What is it? There's 3 things people talk about. Is that what it was, Cece?
Yeah, it's either they talk about people, things, or thought or ideas.
Yeah. And so if someone is just always talking about other people, chances are like I'm probably not going to be good friends with them, because then we're just always going to be comparing people or things. Like if they're, if it's keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing, you're always comparing. But if it's ideas, like that's something that's collaborative. That's something that like you can go back and forth on, and it's kind of just up here. So it's not an inanimate object or person that you can just judge and compare against, And so those are the friendships that I like turn towards more than the other because of what happens with comparison the other two.
Yeah, that was so good. Cece, I especially loved your breakdown of competence and how that leads to confidence. And I think that's such a tangible tool to take away, because I think that a lot of people just feel like confidence is just like you either have it or you don't. Like, oh, I'm a confident, like she's a confident person, but like I'm not. When the reality is like it's so refreshing to hear like you can build that up. Like it's not that you were just born with it or you're not. Like it's actually a skill you can grow in and work on. And it ties into what Megan is saying. Like the women that are confident like are attractive.
It's beautiful. A confident woman is beautiful. And I know Megan mentioned it. There's a free course that I have with some of my coworkers. And I don't know if I'll send it to you, Mari, so you can put it in your show notes. But go to westofperfection.com, and under services, you'll see courses. And there's a online course that's free. It's like 7 micro episodes, and it's called Confidence with Class. So grab it. We talk all about like how to actually build that tangibly. So that might be helpful, but it's free. So grab it.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. So I guess my next question that kind of relates to this is like, how do you personally stay true to yourself and confident in your values, the way that you've chosen to live your life in a world that I feel like is always pressuring women to conform? I think a lot of the times this is what it comes down to. There are women that like have this zeal and desire to be themselves, to be like authentically Catholic. I think a lot of it comes down to our like Catholic and conservative views that a lot of us share. But in a world where you're constantly being like fought against and you feel like you're kind of running against the current a little bit, like what gives you that confidence to stay true to who you are?
I mean, I'm the only one that has to live with myself every single day. And I'm the only one that has to live with the decisions that I make and the values that I hold every single day. And like, I guess I would think if I wasn't married right now and I didn't have kids right now, I would be looking for a man that has those things. So who am I to look for a man that has those things if I don't also firmly hold them myself? And now on the flip side, if I am married and I have kids, I'm raising my kids to have those values as well. So who am I to expect them to have those values if I don't hold them myself? So I guess maybe an outer accountability. And like that is very much how I work. So I don't know if it's different for you guys, but like I would feel like such a fraud.
I think almost what you're getting at, and tell me if I'm wrong, but almost what you're getting at was like an internal integrity.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we've talked about this before too. Yes, that's true.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
reminds me of, I mean, literally Sunday's gospel. It was like, I just pulled it up. Simon Peter answered to Jesus and said, Master, to whom shall I go? You are the words of eternal life. And it's like, what is my other option? I can either be myself or I can be a lie. So like, to whom shall I go? Like it's just so straightforward to me in my brain.
Yeah.
And a lot of women, it's like they want to be that publicly, like what they feel in their soul, they want to be that publicly, but it feels like such a big step, like it's just like such a big jump to be what you are internal, to be what you are external if you're not used to being that. And I think another roadblock to that is like people in our culture don't let you change. It's very hard to show that you've changed or have a different opinion about something. I remember, I mean, I wasn't like how I am in high school, right? And so when I see different high school friends through different, whatever reunions, it's sometimes almost like, I don't know, embarrassment's not the right word, but like, am I embarrassed that I'm a different person? Like that I've changed, I'm a different human. And so to go from that leap of like who you are internally to who you are externally, there are so many little things that you can do to have that self-integrity, like Megan was talking about. And the biggest thing is doing what I say I'm going to do when I say I'm going to do it. Those little things help me be who I am internally and show that externally. So it's like so simple almost as like, I said that I'm going to like do the laundry after this meeting. No one knows if I do the laundry after this meeting, and no one cares if I do it after this meeting. But because I told myself I was going to do it, I'm going to do it because I'm going to have that self-integrity. I want to be confident in who I think I am. And so if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I do what I say I'm going to do when I say I'm going to do it. And so the more you build up that internal integrity, you can then start to show it externally. And again, it kind of bridges that gap from like who you are and who maybe people thought you used to be, or I don't know. Is that even making sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I feel like you have such a knack for this, Cece, where like you take the big concept and you're like breaking it down in a really like tangible way to get there. And so I think you're on the right track, and that is super helpful. I have something to add if you're not done yet.
No, go ahead.
I think that kind of reminded me and kind of like triggered this thought process in my head. I'm like, okay, for myself, like where do I get my confidence from to live the way that I do and to live the lifestyle and choose the values and standards that I do for my life? And it might sound kind of cliche. I feel like my confidence really comes from the Lord and like rooting my life in the Lord. And if you follow me, I talk about this all the time. Matthew 6:33, like seek first the kingdom is like my anchor verse in my life.
Wow.
And I think a lot of the times your confidence can come from your priorities. Like in my life, I have made countless at this point in my life, most of my decisions, if not all, are based off of like what the Lord's will is for my life and what does my Catholic faith say about how I should be living my life. And if it is the truth in my life that the Lord is first, that I'm seeking his kingdom first, that's going to dictate my decisions. Like, is this decision that I'm making, or is this, relationship that I'm forming, or whatever I'm pursuing, is it helping me reach the kingdom or not? Is it going to help me put the Lord first or hinder me from putting the Lord first? And once you have confidence in that, like once I decided in my life, like, yeah, the Lord is first in my life. Therefore, everything I do has to be ordered first towards seeking the kingdom. And then other things, like, it's almost like you were saying, Cece, like it's so straightforward in my head. Like you are given the blueprint for your decisions, for your lifestyle, and your confidence can be rooted in it because it's set in stone and it is like the word of God. And so if I have enough trust in the Lord that what he says is true, that if I seek him first, all else will be given to me, then I don't have to worry about people liking me or not because of the way I live my life, because I know that the Lord is going to provide otherwise. I don't have to worry about, being like trying to pursue unethical ways to make money, or a job that takes me away from my family or whatever, because I know that if I like seek first the Lord, he's going to make his will known in my life. He's going to provide for my family. He's going to whatever it is. So I feel like that's kind of where my confidence comes from. It's like, what is the priority in your life? And this is where I feel like a lot of women struggle, because they want God to be the priority in their life. And it is a genuine desire and a good hope of like, I want to be this Christian woman. I want to be this Catholic woman that puts the Lord first. And what's hard is when other people don't, you feel like you were saying kind of like awkward, Cece. You're like, oh, I'm different, I'm different. And you just kind of have to get over that. You just kind of have to have that fake it till you make it of just like, nope, like this is who I am and I trust in the Lord and this is where my confidence comes from. And if you like it, great. If you don't, sorry, like I'm not going to change for you.
I also think, what is that? When people question whether or not Jesus was real, it's like, okay, well, then he was either a fake, a fraud, or something. I don't know. There's like 3 different things. I have the feeling like that it follows.
I think it was Lord, lunatic, or a liar. Like he's either actually God, the crazy person, or he's just a straight up liar.
Yes. Okay. So I feel like once you are like, no, he is Lord. And if, you know what, if you think I'm crazy, if you think I'm a liar, if you whatever, fine. But we'll find out at the end of my life whether or not like me holding true to that, the fact that he is Lord and aligning my life under that, like you both have said, we'll find out if, I was crazy or a liar or, weird or whatever.
Yes. Okay. Let's get into some juicy content here.
Oh no. Pivot.
Turn it off if there's little ears around. Get ready.
Kidding. This will still be pretty PG.
Of course, like just to clarify, everyone.
Not that juicy. Okay, but I think it's always fun to hear about like what your dating experience was like before you got married. So
shocking.
I can start with like worst dates, dates that you've been on that you were just like, that was really bad. Do you guys have any like funny stories?
Megan, take it away with all your dating experience.
Actually, though, Avery and I were joking about one of the 5 dates I went on before meeting him. And it was what is it, fraternity date party in college. You had to drive like 45 minutes away to the town that had an actual roller skate rink, and it was like dress up and neon stuff. And I had met this guy at freshman orientation, and he asked me to go, so I said yeah. And we drove. I didn't really know him. And we drove there. We had an okay time. I don't really remember it. And then we came back. And on the way there and back, there's this like cheap, old rundown, like side of the road motel for like $27 a night. And I remember we're like approaching it and he's he made a comment. I don't think I made any comments. I don't think I was even going to joke about it because I was like, I don't really know this guy. He made a comment of like, "Oh, you want me to just turn there?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh." He's like, "No, I really don't want you to turn there." Yeah, not good. And we were like bros that whole night up until that moment. And then I was just like, "Dear Lord Jesus, please get me back to my home safely. Thank you." I was like, "Oh my gosh." And now looking back, like that is actually one of those things I think about, and I'm like, guardian angels are real. 100% guardian angels are real. Like I could have ended up on the side of the road in a dirty motel with this guy I barely knew. Goodness, I mean, I think he was joking. I want to believe benefit of the doubt he was joking, but it was still like, oh no, no, no. We never went on another date after that. If he thought maybe we did, no.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think even just the fact that you barely knew each other is kind of like, how am I supposed to take that joke?
I know, like, can we not joke about that things? Anyways,
Cece?
So some may say my dating experience is quite extensive.
yes. Are you gonna talk about bacon? Are you gonna talk about like which route are you gonna go?
Oh my gosh. Which one? Okay, so how about this? So this one's pretty short, but I've had some I've been blessed like with some really great dates. And my father like really encouraged me to go on dates in high school and to like set that standard for men to take me on a date and not
Yeah.
just, like, have a thing and hang out. Whatever that means. Like, but everyone had like a thing and hung out in high school, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, one date that I went on was my friend's mother was like, "Hey, you need to meet my younger daughter's soccer coach." And so anyways, she like connected us over text and he like picked me up and we went on a date. And I felt comfortable with like him picking me up because I know like my friend's mother wouldn't just like, set me up with a creepy guy. So I had him pick me up and we went out to dinner and then we were going to, does anyone know like what pinstripes is?
Is that bowling?
Yeah, it's like nice bowling and bocce, but like, they'll have like a jazz band and like you can grab drinks and like it's like
that sounds
nice,
so fun, like a Top Golf for bowling.
but
Bougie
nicer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like Top Golf's still like a little sporty, but like you could get like a nice glass of wine. And so we went out to dinner and it was like an Italian restaurant and he was like cute. I mean, whatever. And so I see him grab like a Tupperware out of the car and we walk in and I'm like, his name is Patrick actually. And I was like, "Patrick, oh, I'm sorry, what do you have there?" And he's like, "Oh, this is my dinner." And I'm like,
No.
"We are just entering the dinner joint."
Oh no.
And he's like, "Yeah, it's like cutting season. It's my chicken and rice." And I'm like, "Why are you taking me out to dinner? Like, what are we doing here? Now I'm supposed to order dinner while you ask them to warm up your Tupperware at a nice restaurant. And then like, I'm supposed to be like waiting for him to like pay for my dinner or be like, it's okay. I got it. You didn't eat. Like, I don't know. It was just so weird.
So awkward.
So nice guy, just like one of those awkward moments that you have,
Yeah.
Another one, I would say I had a really great date with this Catholic guy. We met through mutual friends. He was from Ohio. He came into Chicago for the weekend. I was living in the Chicago suburbs. So I took the train in and we did kind of like a 2-day date where it was like Saturday, Sunday. So I met him in the city. We did some fun things in the city. I showed him around. And then I met up with like another couple friend of mine and we like went out dancing. And then the next day I met him in the city again and we went to mass. And after that, he had to drive back to Ohio and he was dropping me off at the train station and he was just like, "This was a great weekend." And I was like, "Yeah, it was." Like, his name was also Patrick. I dated 2 Patricks before my Patrick. Yeah, super weird.
Time.
I know. And it's random that I just picked me.
What are the odds of that?
Pretty high with the amount of guys we dated.
Okay.
Statistically probable.
No. So when you say dated, are you like going on dates or like boyfriends?
Yeah, going on dates.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
I'm really big about like dating is different than like my boyfriend. Those are
Yeah.
so different. Like, I believe you
Yeah.
could date multiple guys at once, but like you only have one boyfriend, you know? So anyways, he drops me off and he's like, that was really great. And I'm just like, yeah, like I'd love to see you again. And he was like, yeah, no, I'm not really looking for that. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? You just like literally drove from Ohio to Chicago, spent 2 days with me, probably dropped a few $100, more than a few hundred because you had a hotel and everything. He even like brought me flowers, a card, like went all out. And he's like, I just wanted to know women like you existed.
No.
Wait,
Wait. What?
What does that even mean?
What?
He just like, didn't want to date or anything. He just wanted to know that girls like me existed.
You're like, all right, well, glad I could play a part in your experiment.
Yeah. It's like, what a weirdo. I'm like, whatever. You weren't that cute anyway. Okay, bye.
I don't
I
even
didn't say that, but as it felt that.
That
I
is
really did. I had a good time.
strange.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
So, it's funny, but
it's funny now.
it's funny.
It's
I don't know.
funny.
Mari, have you had any bad dates?
I can think of one. So I met Trey sophomore year of college, and I had all my dating happen basically like all of high school. And then freshman year was a little crazy. It wasn't like really dating. I was just like, you know, a little bit wild there. But like in high school, I feel like you didn't really go on dates. Like there was one boyfriend I had, my first serious boyfriend, who actually took me on dates. And then maybe like my senior year boyfriend, but even then I just felt like we were just like kind of, we were saying of just like, you just hang out. Like it's not like they're actually taking you on a date. So I literally think had one boyfriend in high school who took me on dates. And then other than that, we just became boyfriend and girlfriend really quick because you're in class together. It's almost like you're getting to know each other through daily things. And it's not like you're actually like needing to go on dates to get to know each other. So yeah, I think like actual dates happened more in college, and a lot of them were with Trey. But before I met Trey, there was one that was a really interesting moment. I worked at the Gonzaga marketing office, like as like a, I don't know, office assistant. Like I would just like basically do admin work for them. And this was, I think, my freshman year. And there was like another guy who started to come in and work. Like I'd already been there for like the first semester. And then I think he started second semester, and he would try and come and talk to me and whatever. And he seemed nice. He was fine. Like he was kind of cute. Like nothing that I'm like, wow, he's so dreamy. But I'm like, okay, you're kind of cute. And so then he asked me out on a date after work one day. And I was like, wow, this guy's like so nice. Like he actually like came up to me in person, like asked me on a date, like who does that? And we like went over to lunch, and I'm pretty sure that like he like didn't let me pick the place. He was like asking me like where I wanted to go, and he kind of gave me some options, and I said where I wanted to go. And he's like, no, I really want to go to this place. I'm like, okay, we'll just go to this place. That, you know, like why don't you just pick it then? And so we end up going to like the place he wants to go eat, and he didn't pay for my lunch, which was kind of a bummer because I'm like expecting him to pay for my lunch if he asked me out on a date.
Yeah.
And then
You wanted to go and not where you wanted to go.
yeah. And then he had just turned 21, I think, recently, and all he talked about was drinking alcohol. Like that was his big flex, and that was like literally the whole conversation where he was just like, yeah, like we just go to bars, and like I drink so much at this party, and like it was literally all about like drinking and bars. And I'm kind of sitting there like, do you think this is going well for you? Because do you feel like this is impressive? Because it's not. I'm done. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Or what are you compensating for? Like,
Right. I'm just like, I didn't even ask you about alcohol. Like, why are we talking about this? So yeah, so I don't really remember how that whole thing ended, but I think I just like didn't text him afterwards, and he just kind of stopped showing up at the office. So I think like he just like quit or I don't know, but he was gone. I like saw him at that date and then I don't think I saw him the rest of the semester, which was funny. Okay, but then okay, this is kind of funny. This was a date that almost was but never happened. So at my 20th birthday party, my friends took me out to PF Chang's.
Love it.
And
oh my gosh, the chicken wraps, the crab
Never
rangoon.
done.
by the way, I have a recipe for those chicken wraps that I've made a couple times. It is phenomenal and so easy. So if you like those, I'm gonna send them to you, Cece.
Yes, please do.
We drooling
but
right now.
the
Chocolate
wait-
cake there. I'm sorry. I miss.
we're still on PF Chang's.
Okay, keep going. So good.
The waiter was really cute. We couldn't tell how old he was, but he was really cute and he was like totally flirting with me. This was before I met Trey, okay? Just so everybody knows. And at the end of the dinner, my friends didn't tell me this, but they all wrote my phone number on the back of their receipts. So every single receipt had my phone number on it. And either like a little heart or a winky face or call her or text me or whatever. And sure enough, he did text me. His name was Alex. And I had him in my phone as Alex, the waiter. And we like, he called me and left a message and was like, hey, like, I'm your waiter. Like, it's Alex. This phone number was left on the back of the receipt. Like, I'm assuming it's the birthday girl. Like, would love to take you out. And like, we were all like, oh, so cute.
Yeah.
And he planned, I think, to take me out to dinner or something like that one night. And I like told my mom about it because I was excited. And this goes back to my mom being a realist, like I said before. And she was like, well, how old is this guy? And I think he was like 25 or something like that. And she was like, absolutely not. Like, this is like a grown man who's not in school. Like, you do not, like, don't tell him where you live. You don't know his intentions. Like, why does he want to take out a 20-year-old girl? Like, doesn't he have his life together? And I was like, oh my gosh. And she just like instilled all this fear in me that he was going to like kidnap me and rape me and take me away. And I was like, okay, actually, like, I think we're
Sorry,
in
Alex.
different parts of our lives, so maybe we shouldn't go on a date. And it was literally like day before, and
And he's
never
like,
happened.
he's like, I just wanted to take you out. Like, I'm not asking you to marry me.
I know, but yeah, we'll never know what would have happened.
Well, that was so funny. Oh my gosh, I wonder where Alex is today.
I know,
Still dating a 20-year-old.
and probably still working at PF Chang's.
If you are a waiter or waitress, know that you may not, you can move on too if you really want to. It's okay if you still are, but you're not stuck there forever like
You
Alex.
don't have to make a career out of it.
Wow.
Okay, what about first kisses? When did you have your first kiss? And do you have like, was it like a cute, funny story, or was it just like not really a big deal?
I don't
know,
remember.
Mine was like the epitome of high school. Wait, Megan, you don't
You don't remember? How do you not remember?
I'm sitting here thinking, I remember Avery and I's first kiss, but I don't remember. I had a boyfriend for like a year prior to meeting and dating Avery, and I'm like, we for sure kissed. And I'm sitting here thinking, we kissed, right? Like, why can't I remember? Like, did my brain just block it all out? I don't remember.
Okay,
Wow.
well then we can hear your Avery first kiss story because I'm sure
That
that's
was
cute.
awkward. No.
Oh no!
We started dating. Like, long distance. What does that even mean? We started dating in October or August, October. I don't know. And we didn't actually see each other in person. He's in California. I'm in Alabama. We didn't see each other in person until December. And prior to seeing each other in person,
By the way,
now
they knew each other though. They had seen each other in person
Yeah,
before. Like,
sorry,
they
okay.
knew each other.
Rewind. Knew each other for 3 days at Disneyland.
For
Kept in
3
touch for 3 days. And had a mutual friend there. That was the bridge between how we had 3 days at Disneyland together. And then fast forward, we kept in touch, really hit it off, never ran out of anything to talk about. I was like, I don't know, got to go back to school. I'm not going to do this. But my mom, he did come out too. He bought tickets to fly out to college where I was at in Alabama. And he showed up and we weren't dating. And I was like, what guy just spends hundreds of dollars on a ticket to come hang out with a friend? So he clearly wants something. And so then I felt pressured to tell him something, and I told him no because I was scared. And then my mom was like, "Do you miss him?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Okay, well then maybe you should give him a chance." And so then I said, "Okay, we can date." But like now at this point, he's on a flight to Australia for his brother's wedding, and I'm in Alabama still. So we don't see each other till December. And we've spent a total of maybe a week together in person.
Mhm.
And we're now dating long distance. And then we see each other in December, and we have our first kiss. And it was just like, he dropped me back off of my girlfriend's who I was staying with out in California when I visited. And we like kissed in the driveway, and then he was like, "Was that good?" And I was like, "Mhm."
Yep. Can I get some quick feedback after that?
Do you give me a rating? 5 stars.
I know, I said, "Yep," and I turned around and went back into her house.
Oh my goodness.
It can't continue like this. Like, it has to be, we have to fix this. Like, this has to get over. And it's not that it was bad, it was just awkward. I mean, hello, we'd spent a total of 7 days together. We weren't really boyfriend and girlfriend. Like, we were choosing to be exclusive with each other, but we didn't really know each other that well. So it was just awkward. And clearly, obviously, we've got 3 kids now, so we're fantastic
They
at
figured it
now.
out, guys. They did.
It's
We're
fine.
fantastic at it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I love that.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, mine was like the epitome of just like high school hoopla. Like, I mean, friend's basement, her 16-year-old birthday, you know, sitting on a recliner with this guy that I liked and had a crush on, and then we kissed. And I don't think we ever kissed again. But then I 2 years later actually dated his brother, who ended up being my boyfriend.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I did have a feeling one of you guys would be like 16-year-old birthday party basement. I thought Spin the Bottle would be in the picture, but
I am goody two
Close
shoes
enough.
all the way. First kiss was not till college. I didn't date till college. Yeah, no.
I wasn't a spin the
Guilty.
bottle girl. I was exempt. I usually bowed out of that game. But yeah, if only you guys knew this guy's name.
Patrick?
No, it wasn't Patrick.
Good guess.
But saying his name would just make so many things make sense. But I'll have to tell you after because it was just
Sounds
would
good.
blow his cover.
That's how unique the name is.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
describe this kind of
first
guy
kiss.
because he didn't use his name. His whole family called him this kind of rapper name.
Yeah.
It's moving on. What was your first kiss story?
I feel like it's funny that I asked this question because I was more curious about your guys', but I feel like mine's not very exciting. Okay, I always did kind of want to play Spin the Bottle, but nobody ever played it. Like where I grew up, like I was never, ever, ever in a place where they played it. And I mean, I was a pretty good kid, but I also just I had friends who weren't good kids.
Yeah.
But anyway, I believe I was in 8th grade. So I feel like I was kind of young when I look back. And it was just this cute guy I was talking to who was actually in 7th grade. So I guess I have a thing for younger boys because Trey's a year younger than me as well. But he walked me home from school and then just kissed me in my neighborhood. And then we said goodbye and I walked all the way home after that.
And that was that.
And that was it, the nothing followed suit after that. That was just it.
Yeah, I think that was it. I mean, we were just texting you're in 8th grade.
Right.
You can't go anywhere. You can't drive. So
Right.
what is a relationship in middle school, So I think we texted a lot and maybe saw each other in the hallway, but he walked me home that one time. He kissed me in the neighborhood. Then I walked, he didn't walk me all the way home. I walked home the rest of the way. And then it was cool. Well, we did that. And that was kind of it.
So magical.
So yeah, my first kiss with Trey was much more magical. after we saw a shooting star across the sky. So
How many dates did it take for you guys to kiss?
Trey and I.
Mm-hmm.
So we both like dated a lot of people before we met each other, and we both like had like kissing and like more like physical aspects to the relationship before we dated a lot of people before like each other. And so when we first met and started talking about like how we felt about each other and everything, we like really wanted to set a foundation of friendship before we dated. And I mean, that's part of the reason why I like was so crazy about him, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the first guy ever who's been like, I just want to be your friend first. Like, I don't just want to kiss you.
Right.
And so we were friends / kind of starting to date for about 2 months before we kissed. So whether you call them dates or not, I mean, we didn't officially call them dates because we said we weren't going to date until whatever the day that we chose to date. But we were hanging out, us two, getting food, sometimes going to the movies. Like, they were
Not
dates. So it was like 2 months.
Okay, 2 months. Yeah, and Megan, yours was just
7
that.
days.
It was like months.
It was like months, but like 7 days.
Yeah.
7 days of like you being together.
In the same, like we went to Texas Roadhouse once during his trip in Alabama, and then Disney was with a mutual friend where I had no clue he was even for me. So it was like just a very nuanced situation. And he had never dated anyone before either. So I think that's why he was like, is that good?
Cece, what about you and Patrick? What was your first kiss like?
It was the second time I met him, which was also the second date because we were set up. Yeah. So we had like a full date. It was like a day. It was a weekend date. But it was the first night of the weekend date, and he also asked me to be his girlfriend then the second time I met him. So it was like, it's just, I don't know, how much time do we have?
I have like no time left. But
your kids are all up. But it was the second day. Honestly, I probably would have kissed him the first date, but not that I'm like loose lips over here. But I mean, I probably would have, but I knew he would have never done for it. I asked him, I was like, would you have kissed me the first date? He's like, I mean, I wanted to, but I would never have done that. I was like, hey. He's like, I'm a gentleman. What, you would have kissed me? I'm like, yeah.
That was the first one.
So, I mean, I hate the saying when you know, but it is kind of true.
It is so true. It is really true. And maybe one day we'll have to talk about it. But I know, Meg, you got to get going, right?
For the sake of Avery and his grade in scuba class, yes.
Oh my gosh,
scuba.
So many questions, not enough time.
We're going to get back on a national out sometime.
Scuba diving? You take like scuba diving?
Yes, like he's getting his scuba certification.
Oh.
Yep.
Nice.
He has to take a couple more electives. So he was like, scuba.
Okay. Well, I love it. Okay. Well, we'll have to do part 2 later because I do want to get to marriage and mental health and fun life topics and career and advice you have for a lot of other women. So we'll have to circle back at some point. But thanks for just pouring your heart out today, girls.
Of course.
This was so fun. Yeah.
Wow.
Megan,
next time we'll have
feeling my words. Jeez. Oh, well, thank you, Mari. You are the best. And yeah, I needed this. I needed some just like adult convo today. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Of course. All right, you guys. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening in. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and on social media, and give me a 5-star rating on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. That helps me and the show out so much. Also, make sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at EverBePodcast. And if you want more content like this and you don't already follow me, you can also follow me on Instagram at mari.c.wagner. And may his praise ever be on our lips. God bless.